Hi everyone, this is Jules from the Apple Newsreel. In this short video, I'll be going over video editing features in Final Cut Pro 10.0.4. For this video, I've added the film grain effect to an earlier clip I was working on, in this case the Photoshop CS6 demo. The effect settings vary from effect to effect, but in this case there's an intensity slider and a drop-down menu where you can choose the type of grain used, an iMovie grain and a realistic grain. Right below the effect controls are the color correction controls. If you master these, you can fix almost any clip. What I'm going to do very quickly here is try to make the footage look even older. By pressing this arrow, you're taken to this weird thing that looks almost like a color picker. What this lets you do is choose the hue of the shadows, the midtones, and the highlights of the image. I'm going to go ahead and make the shadows a bit bluer. I'm going to remove some of the green from the midtones. And finally, I'm going to sort of yellow the highlights. Alright, so I've already added a very Instagram-ish effect to this video. Now I'm just going to hop over to the saturation tab. I'll just desaturate the shadows a bit. And I'll oversaturate the midtones to compensate for that. And I'll oversaturate the highlights just a bit. Now in the exposure, I'm going to play with the contrast a bit. So now the clip looks pretty much like an Instagram still. It's going to take about 15 minutes to render. Before it starts rendering, I might as well add some things to the render queue. So I'm going to go ahead and show you the transform controls which Final Cut offers. Now these are of course available via the lower left side of the viewer, but you can also get them via the inspector. Just a quick reminder before I show you that you can use this button right here to add additional corrections, because sometimes one correction might not be enough. So now for the transform commands. I'll start with position. Position is basically translation on the X and Y axis. You can control it either by typing the number in, by sliding the mouse up and down over the number, and you can add a keyframe too. That gray button on the side, that's a keyframe. That's rotation. Scale. And there's anchor, which in my experience is the exact same as position. I figured this is as good a time as any to show you how to use keyframes. To begin, select a setting and click that little gray plus. It'll turn into an orange X. Now you've set your first keyframe. Now set your second keyframe at a different point on the timeline, and change the setting. And just like that, I've created a zoom effect on my video. Now, onto cropping. Cropping is a very popular video effect used, among others, to letterbox video and to hide unwanted content. What I showed you a second ago was trimming, and that just resizes the video. What I'm showing you now is cropping, which in addition to resizing the video, fits what's left as best it can to your viewer. Then, finally, there's the Ken Burns effect, also known as the pan and zoom. Final Cut gives you an interface where you have two squares. The green one is the start of the pan and zoom, and the red one is the end. Generally speaking, you'll only need to resize one of them. In this case, the red one. this will give me a similar zoom effect to the one I achieved earlier by using keyframes. I'll just fast forward through this section because I'm doing some lengthy adjustments. Now, I'm not going to wait for the whole thing to render, but I'm just going to scrub over it really fast. There we go. Moving on. The next item is stabilization and rolling shutter. These are mostly enhancements. The stabilization stabilizes on 3 axes, and rolling shutter corrects rolling shutter. Now for the compositing tool, which consists predominantly of an opacity slider. Now, compositing is another one of those very descriptive names. Basically, you take 2 items of visual media, be they stills or video, and either change the opacity or key one of those. That is to say, you remove the background using a method like green screen. And basically, you combine them into one final video clip. What I'm going to do here is take the still from a previous project, the Photoshop CS6 demo, and I'm going to overlay it over a different video. You can change the opacity, the size, and the position using the transform controls, and of course you can undo it all with a Command Z. Well, that's about it for this video. Subscribe to this channel if you'd like, and visit the site. There's a lot of new content coming very soon.